You're listening to the LA Football Podcast.
Can you see a splash move on this roster of a guy who is a starter that we may not see here next year?
Ramsey. If I were Les Snead, I would get rid of Ramsey. It's a law of diminishing returns. The prime has been passed, and corner is not that hard a position to replace at that level. At the all-pro level, at the all-world level, the Revis Island, the Dion level, prime Jalen Ramsey may have gotten to that place. I don't think so, but sure, for sake of argument, we'll say that. That's a game-changing piece on the chessboard. The moment you come one level lower or 1.5 levels lower from that, this is a commodity position. And so to me, if I'm Les Snead, I'm not telling anyone this. I'm certainly not telling Jalen Ramsey this, but under the radar, in my office, under the guise of some subtle phone calls, I am looking to see what can I get for Jalen Ramsey, because I don't believe that Jalen Ramsey can be a superstar on a championship team anymore. And so when you're talking about value, can I get a couple players for Ramsey? Can I even get a couple lower level picks for Ramsey and have my eye on some high value picks in the draft? I'm looking at Ramsey.
Okay, let me ask you this. And it makes it hard with the contract. He, next year, I believe his cap hit is $25 million. So obviously that's a factor when you look at trading. Most likely, just because the way the NFL works, these deals will be for draft picks, not for players. What kind of value do you think he can return? Because and I'm not talking bad about fans, but I think a lot of fans think that Rams can get like a first-round pick for him. I don't think that, especially with that contract. But he could potentially garner a low second or a third or a couple fours. Or what do you think kind of value they could get back for him?
I think, I'll be honest with you, I think it depends on how desperate the team is on the other side and what the piece is. I'm in that, can I get a 4 and a 5? Can I get a couple 4s? Like, I think that's where you're playing. But I don't think that's bad. I actually think there could be real value, especially when you look at this particular draft and you look at some depth at some positions like tight end, like pass rush. You know, there's a couple of areas here where, you know, if you sort of offensive line, obviously, you can get a very credible starter quality offensive lineman in the 4th round, 5th round. And I would sort of approach it that way. You're not going to get a first rounder for him. You're not going to get a second and a third for him. It's just not going to happen. But even if I can get a couple 4s or a 4 and a 5, I'm thinking about it, Ryan. I really am, because the evidence was clear. He was done at the end of last year. I said it last year. If Aaron Donald is not Superman and Burrow has half a second more and he lobs it up to Jamar Chase, who was wide open, and the Bengals win that game, Jalen Ramsey would have had a LeBron-like 20 summer, the way LeBron was in 2011 after losing to the Mavericks with the Heat. Jalen Ramsey would have had to be in a hoodie and sunglasses all summer in LA and tried to be avoided, or go up to Wyoming or Montana, or what. We think of him differently because Aaron Donald is who Aaron Donald is, and the Rams got the ring. He got burned by Chase. He got burned by Mike Evans in the playoffs. He got burned all year. Jalen Ramsey is done, okay? He can be a serviceable player, but I don't want a serviceable player at $25 million. And to your point, if you're looking for high value and you're looking to be proactive, it's that value investing principle. The great investors don't always get the upside. It's to your earlier point, Ryan. The great investors know when to cut their losses immediately and be able to set themselves up for success. Trading Ramsey in the offseason is cutting your losses immediately, because he's going off a cliff. It's the days of elite Jalen Ramsey are OBER.
Yeah, we've seen it all the time. Corners of all positions have the quickest drop off. It seems like running backs maybe 2, but corners can be elite one year and fall off a cliff very quickly. And we definitely saw that last year. And obviously didn't get a lot of help on the back end. But if you're as great as he thinks he is, which he was, but he didn't have that year last year. So I think, and we're running out of time here, so I'll say this quickly, but this is a very different position. But you look at Von Miller was able to get a second and a third at 32 years old, but he was on an expiring contract. So it depends how teams want to look at it, right? Because Jalen will have 3 more years on his deal. So a team could look at that as like, great. Yeah, he's making good money, but we don't have to renegotiate. We don't have to worry about trading assets and he's gone. Like, we have him for 3 years. So I think they could potentially get a 2 and a 3. I know those are very different positions, so it's hard to compare, but I think that would be the max. And that's a 2 and a 3 from a team that's like, hey, we're a corner away. Like, we need one other corner in our defense to remain elite and have a run at a Super Bowl. I think probably that 3 to 4 is more likely, but I agree with you that for the Rams' sake, as much as I love Ramsey, as much as he's been great for this team, for them to get back to the way they've been thinking, it just makes too much sense for them to get younger that position. They have some young guys they want to develop. They brought back Aubrey Pleasant strictly for that reason, because he's great at developing young cornerback talent. So we'll see how that goes.
You're listening to the LA Football Podcast.